And then my catcher said, you did entrepreneurship, and come on. And when for a could them out one more aquadare, a banner, a year technology, who sends them out. One more about come and say, a new eating come. We may even find out from them their story, their journey, how they got to this point, and we may pick one or two from them. Now, yeah, so yeah, the about your home ebra. Now, every year teaches us two things: no situation is permanent, and life has to move on. It's a new year, and we couldn't have made it without you. Huntech Market, an award-winning financial technology firm with over 32 years industry experience, is here again at the Huntech House, Noi Osikan Close Ring Road Estate, Accra, giving the opportunity to learn how to trade the financial markets, get mentored professionally, get access to our unique social trading platform with traders globally, get to know much more about foreign exchange concepts. And for more information, you can call or WhatsApp 0544708888 or visit Huntech House at Noi Osikan Close Ring Way Estate, Accra. Huntech Estates, trust through transparency. And the conversation no yebeshase ewo jumedi no eso and anapay no senam dika ekache no yene Lady Omega Hammond or your CEO Ampersand Technologies Limited yene no ebedin command pay Ellie Daniel Wilson GMA Fine Boy Group Head Digital Media and Innovation Global Media Alliance, bene omo ebedin komoni nyina efa yen techpreneurship aye dwumedia ye die no. But Lady Hammond mention paya meneno AD and komo. And so I welcome her into the studio, and then it will set the tone for the conversation. And then along the way, your comments, your thoughts, your views will be solicited now after ya twasun ye din komo. Lady, it's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you.
How have you been?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. I've been following your exploits on social media, your recent event which you held, and I picked a few things from it. But it's become necessary for us to talk about techpreneurship. For some of us, we may assume we understand what that means. But for the benefit of our viewers and our listeners, what do we mean when we say techpreneurship?
So techpreneurship is a new breed of entrepreneurship where we are combining your calculated risk of entrepreneurship and the pragmatic application of technology. We are trying to diversify the way traditionally businesses are being run, processes are being taken to solve problems, and taking it from a more innovative point of view that still helps people get the value and services that they want from their businesses or daily lives.
So what does that entail practically?
Well, practically it entails developing a software or offering a software service that goes to aid in what you normally do from your day-to-day. So for example, if you're a business and you're looking for a better way of controlling the information in your office, from storing your files to managing your information about your customer to connecting to or sending them messages or calling them, software applications like web apps and mobile apps are able to help you to put together your business in a better way. And now with the pandemic, we all know that you need ways to connect to your clients without you physically connecting with them. So through apps like Zoom and these video calls, we are able to still run our businesses. Even through social media, you're able to set up a business without necessarily putting together a real business in a physical space. So it involves building technology. It involves being able to offer services like marketing, designing, putting together things that influence people's businesses and lives to help them connect in ways that they couldn't connect before.
Well, you made the point about, COVID-19 and the lessons it's taught us, that now it's possible for us to have a very long marathon meetings without necessarily being present at a single location to make sure these meetings happen. But then it's built on a foundation. This whole technology talk, the digitization drive, it's built on a certain foundation. And that's for instance, data to be present. that's for the person to have certain gadgets or logistics to be able to do all these things, our phones, our laptops, and co. But looking at the Ghanaian system, where sometimes even having access to data is a problem. Sometimes connectivity is an issue. How does a young man, a young lady, or an already established business get into the introduction of tech into this, seeing all these constraints therein?
Unfortunately, when it comes to tech, the major barrier is you being able to be connected to the internet, because it's where you have free resources and information to help you build a career or build a business in technology. I'm not saying that if you don't have internet, you don't have the opportunity to be in the tech space, but there would be at any point of the process a point where you will have to be connected to the internet to either learn from short courses or to learn from people who are doing the interesting things that you want to do. And also it's necessary for you to have smartphones to help you connect to the larger community, because what technology is doing is enabling you to connect with the world without you necessarily moving to that location. So the first thing I will say is the easiest way I'll say is social media. You find a lot of people setting up pages with different businesses and different ways by which they're marketing it. In this time, we have people like social media influencers who are able to creatively attract people to follow them on their social media pages, and through that they're able to advertise products and services on behalf of brands and businesses. You also have the opportunity to just go on Google. There are online platforms or learning platforms like Udemy, Codecademy, and even YouTube itself. If you just Google it and you want to learn, whether it's from sewing to cooking to delivery or even building technology, you have these resources available for you to be able to learn. But in this time, going into technology, you have to be very open-minded, because there are existing businesses that have been doing things in a certain way. And even though technology is disrupting it, here in Ghana, we are still learning or adapting to the advantages that technology presents us. For example, with the digitization of payments, we were all very excited that during the COVID, you didn't have to move to the bank to be able to get your money, and through your phone, your mobile phone, you can do a transfer to another person. Even with the e-levy coming up, it is sort of feels discouraging, because people will not really patronize e-payments as much as they used to. But it's not going to stop innovation. It's not going to stop people coming up with better ways to still engage. So this is how, these are few.
Well, the bit about the infrastructure, because, you know, when we talk about techpreneurship, most of the times our focus is, for instance, maybe in Accra, maybe in Kumasi, maybe in Cape Coast, where we assume that these telcos are present, and so access to data is there. But there are other towns and municipalities where today somebody would have to climb a tree in order to get the reception to make a call. Today somebody would have to go and lean against some place in order to have, how do you call it, reception, to send a WhatsApp message. Is this in any way a hindrance towards this direction we are going?
Yes, it is. But thankfully, we have some applications that can work offline. So in those areas where connectivity is not so great, you have the opportunity to still benefit from the resources that apps give. So for example, with education, schools don't necessarily always have to be connected to the internet before they can have information to share with their students. You can have some offline applications that they can learn how to code, like Scratch, where they are able to learn how to code and put together artifacts to appreciate the instructions that they're giving to the computers. It would be great that as the years are going by, connectivity will improve, and the speed and also the cost will help people be more connected on the internet. But till then, we will not sit down and fold our arms and say that because there's no connectivity, we will not be able to get access to these resources. So it depends on the let me say, context in which they're using the technology, whether it's with a phone call or it's with connecting to the internet. I know that Facebook was trying to roll out a way to get Africa connected and give people free internet, but the infrastructure is still being built. Their laws are still being framed, and we are trying to create an ecosystem that will make everybody thrive. But you have to do your best to connect as much as you can. Life is not always fair, but in everything, once you keep pushing, things will definitely get better.
Do you get the sense, as a nation, we have an appreciation of the potential of tech in business?
I wouldn't say we have fully come to that understanding yet, even though you see a lot of these STEM programs trying to bring out innovation and creative ways for people to solve problems, even through our educational system. I think if we really understood how great the potential was, there are certain measures that we'll put in place to help it thrive better, especially for us young people who are looking for lucrative ways to make money. Sometimes it looks as though you have to really hustle, even with technology, to get the sort of goods and services that you want to deliver. As a country, I think we are lacking in so many things, but technology is one of the ways that people are surviving through TikTok, through YouTube, through social media or selling on social media. People are able to engage and do deliveries and affect other industries as well. But at least we understand that the digital agenda is good, and we are having the conversations, which is important because it creates the environment for these innovations to be known about. Even like this morning, this opportunity to speak about it opens up the minds of people who don't really understand what it's about. And then once the conversations keep happening over the years, we'll see and benefit from the potential of tech entrepreneurship.
Well, if you just join us, we're talking about techpreneurship live on ETV, live on Happy 98.9 FM, Nisim 95.9 and 100.1. It's also live on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're happy that you join us. I'm hoping that you pick a thing or two from this conversation, and then you can apply it to your business, be it an old one or a budding one that you started. But talking about the potential of tech introduction into business, is tech not expensive?
Yes and no, because there are times when tech is, I'll say, one of the breeds of entrepreneurship that enables you to bootstrap within a certain period of time. With a simple smartphone, depending on the cost of the phone, you're able to connect to the internet, you buy some data, and you're able to set up a social media page, and then you're selling. The barrier to entry is lower than the cost it would take you to build a shop, to stock it with goods, and then you have to make a sale. So with tech, the entry to business is a little lower, but over time, the costs do build up because internet is not cheap. The devices will not last you as long as you want it to last. So you always have to be upgrading and buying a lot more data than you had earlier planned. But as a business, you're going into business to make profit. So you have to make sure that you're taking calculated risk, because as much as technology is easy to go into business, people are innovating. There are problems every day, and people are always looking for very interesting ways to solve these problems. So technology keeps getting complex, but also is getting easier for the user to be able to engage with. So if you decided to, let's say, invest in building an application, in the beginning, it will look very interesting and fancy, and if you go to a developer and they tell you it's going to cost you a minimum of 10,000 Ghana cedi to build the app, it may look very expensive, But in the long run, when you measure the different costs it's going to take you, for example, to engage with your customers, to be able to even take the cost of taking pictures of your products and putting it on the app, and even receiving money, you being able to get your money directly in your account, it saves you that cost of moving around with transportation. And through the app, you're able to do business from wherever you are in the country. So I always say, like any other business, you have to be wise. You have to be very, take calculated risk that will help your business to thrive. There are challenges like any other business, but at least technology is being innovated, is getting better as the years and months are going by. And you have a lot of young talents that are interested in technology. So your access to hiring people is a little easier, and you can also learn these tech languages and services, so that even if you don't have a team to help you run your business, you yourself can run it on your own.
What are the fundamental things that a young business person seeking to now attract online customers, prospective ones? And so initially they didn't have, let's say, a Facebook account. Initially they didn't have any of the social media accounts. That hasn't got an application, hasn't got a website. What are the first considerations such an individual or firm must take a look at before venturing into?
Okay. Thankfully, there's a lot of information out there. Thanks to search engines like Google, you're able to get insights into how business areas or whatever interest you're in is thriving. And you have to do your research. You have to really validate what problem you want to solve and what business you want to go into. You need to go online and read and watch videos, see how people are doing the things that you want to do before you also take a path into how you want to go into techpreneurship. It's not always straightforward. Businesses differ per the owners, their values, the sort of customer service you want to give, the sort of cost and quality of the service you are offering or the product you're offering. So you also need to understand that there will be some costs that you'll have to incur. Just because you are starting a tech business doesn't mean that everything must be free, because we are already used to engaging with applications via social media for free. So you need to really do your financials well, so that whatever venture you're going into will be profitable for you. And last and not the least, you constantly have to be educating yourself in the different technology tools and languages or prospects that are coming. Now we have a lot of these virtual platforms where people are selling their art for billions and thousands of dollars. And we also have, this is a space that you have foreign companies coming into or looking to expand into the African space. So you need to have something that makes you stand out as a business and stick to it. And your success is not going to be overnight. You have to put in the work. You have to put in, you have to sacrifice in the beginning so that you can gain value over time. But one thing that you have to be consistent with is your quality of service, your interactions with your customers, and the knowledge base that you have about your business, so you don't go out of business.
Well, let me just veer off a little and come to the tech world itself and some thoughts people have, myself, until I met a young man. I build websites as well, and I was using an Adobe product called Muse. And it was a bit restrictive in terms of content management. And so I had seen WordPress and Joomla and the rest of them, how they function and everything, but it was a bit scary, especially using Joomla and the coding bit and all of that, until I came across Divi and Elementor and Co, and I realized how easy it is to build a website. Yes, and then also, the issues about coding and the fear that people have about it. For those who are desirous of venturing into the tech space in terms of development of apps and websites and the rest of them.
Okay.
How do they kill this mentality that coding is a serious thing?
Okay. So coding, like any other skill, is something you have to first have an interest in. You generally have to desire to want to solve a problem using technology. Coding is just the tools that we are given or the instructions that we are giving the computer to respond to the problem that we have identified to come up with a solution. If you're thinking of going into coding, one thing that you have to think about is, how do I like to solve problems? Am I the type who just like to design it and make it look pretty and make it look intuitive or make it look attractive to whatever the user is going to be engaging with? Or am I the type who likes to think about the logic, think about how complex the system should be, how it should flow, how it should work? Those are the two things that I'll say you have to consider before you start to research into the sort of coding you want to build. For those who are interested in the look and feel, the aesthetic value, how you want people to engage with the product, you'll be leaning more towards front-end development. And it's not scary. It's just a skill that you pick over time once you understand that it's something you don't know, it's a gap, it's a knowledge gap you want to fill. There are a lot of resources now, so many resources, from coding for dummies to the coding for very complex problems like AI and machine learning. But for those of you who are very complex, you like to take things from a logic point of view, do a lot of math calculations, equations, comparisons, and just building the logic behind the products that you're building. Back-end development will be for you. And there are so many languages that enable you to be able to process the data that you're receiving so you can add it all together and build a very great app. Coding is simply receiving a computer receiving instructions from a human being, and it's going there, it's being built or being created to solve a problem. So depending on the problem that you want to solve, that would determine the sort of app that you build, or even the kind of interface in which the app will be interacting with. Whether it is a mobile app or a web app, you need to understand that you'll have to do your research to understand the different platforms and what they offer.
Earlier, staying on the tech bit, you made mention of a few of these online, training, websites that you made mention of, Udemy,
Yes.
Domestika, recently LinkedIn bought lynda.com. But these websites that we buy these training materials from, for a young man who wants to learn, AI and, graphic design, web development and all that, how expensive or otherwise are these training manuals we're talking about?
So with as little, they have free courses, first of all. Most of the time, the paid courses are maybe you're upgrading in whatever you are investing in, but with as little as $10 or $20, which is about, what's the dollar today?
I think about, let's say 6. Let's peg it at 6.
At 6, so about 60 Ghana cedi. You should be able to get a course that will be able to help you develop in whatever program that you want to go into. We also have physical businesses that run as coding schools. There's one called Code Train, where for that, depending on maybe if you don't have the finances, they do get some grants and support that you can go and speak to them about your situation, and then they'll find a way to get you into their programs. So if you don't have internet at home, but you have a little money that you can pick transportation, you can go to the physical schools here too. But with as little as $10, you should be able to patronize a course online.
How easy is it to get the input of what these videos are teaching you? How easy is it?
So it's not very easy that in one day you will get the concepts, especially when you are now getting into coding and technology. But I would say that after a minimum of 6 months to a year, depending on how smart you are, you will be able to apply the things that you are learning. With everything, there's a learning curve, and especially with coding. And as much as even now we have no-code tools that you can use to build websites, you really have to keep practicing. The more you practice, the more you'll get it. So sometimes I say it's not even about how long it's going to take you, but the quality of your practice. Because you can practice for the whole day, and then the next day you'll be able to build a website. And some people, it would take them 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, but because they're not dedicating enough time to be able to understand the concepts and not just see it as, this is something I'm doing to make money, so I have to get it quickly and move. You realize that you lose in the long run. But when you dedicate time, you dedicate effort, you go to the right resources, you recognize that within that period that you learned, you start to benefit from the jobs you get, the quality of your work when your customers interact with your apps, and you also be able to sustain the job and not be jumping from one tech sector to the other, or one tech specification to the other.
Well, I decided to this year commit to study app development.
Okay.
Not necessarily doing the back end one.
Okay, the front
My
end.
mind cannot comprehend that. And so I'm learning Adobe XD for starters. Then maybe I may subscribe to one of these online build, and then for my clients. But I'm thinking about clients and the usual concerns they raise about costs of either these applications or these websites that we build. Out of Ghana, I know how expensive it is to build a website. Out of Ghana, I know how expensive it is to build an application. You mentioned 10,000 Ghana cedis for an app, and I smiled because I felt it was low. But if you build a website for a client and you say, oh, chief, for this website, pay me between 5,000 and 10,000, he screams because he feels that it ain't really worth it. Do people understand and appreciate the worth of, you know, the work these IT folks do?
No.
So as to make it profitable?
Not at all. And that's one huge problem that we are facing in the industry right now, because we are investing in tools, we are investing in resources, we're investing in people to build these sorts of apps for them. And they always compare to, if I buy a newspaper at 20 cedi and you're asking me to pay 2,000 cedis for you to invest in an app. What they don't realize is the cost is most of the time a one-time cost, where you're going to be making more money than the amount that the initial cost you put in the app. No matter how much you explain the complexity of coding, it's also a human being's intellectual property. People are literally thinking of how can they create math equations, or how can they write code that brings a certain logic to the app that they're building. And here we take, for lack of a better word, the value of that intellectual property as nothing almost. So when you cost an application, they're like, but you're just sitting behind your laptop and you're making 10,000 cedi. That's all that they see. But what they don't see is the sleepless nights where you're trying to figure out, will my equation bring out the value that the person wants? What they don't see is, how is this application going to make my business thrive and connect to the internet, or being integrated with different whether it's payments, whether it's delivery, whether it's pictures, which if you were doing a physical business, you would invest in it individually. And if you were to do the financials of that traditional way of putting together a business, and you compare it to the cost of an app, sometimes they don't do that comparison. So it makes it very difficult to communicate and say you want to build this app. But I think we are still educating our customers. We are still making them understand the benefits of investing in applications, so that they don't miss out. I think a lot of people gained this big understanding, especially when the pandemic hit. One thing I keep telling my customers is, Don't wait for a time where Africa is cut off from the world, and now you're finding a way to connect and with other people in other African countries, and you don't have any means of doing that without you being able to fly there or you being able to connect there physically. But invest in the app now for your business. Invest in the resources that technology is offering right now. Don't wait till late and then you will be caught off guard and you now spend a lot more money than you would today.
Let me invite Ellie into the conversation, and let me retrace my roots a bit and make the point about the tools we spoke about earlier, and try as much as possible to separate the tech world from the entrepreneur who needs the technology that the developer is going to create to harness or to be more productive with the business. So what tools are required for me being a shito seller as well? Yes, I sell shito. And who wants to use the power of technology to promote my product? So maybe I need an app. Maybe I need a website. Maybe I want to be doing social media. Most of us do it ourselves, but there are social media experts out there, marketing experts out there. If I want to get the services of an expert, it's money. How do these things take shape? If I'm a developer as well, today you guys will tell us if you want to use Cinema 4D, if you want to use Adobe Audition, Premiere for your video editing for social media, you require an i7 with maybe a 16 gigabyte RAM or something.
Yeah.
How do I acquire an i7 which is about 6K?
Right, Brother Sammy, happy to see you.
Good to see you,
Been a
Mama.
while. In fact, Happy New Year.
Wow.
Right, so I would want to start from talking about the intangible tools, in quotes, that you would need to navigate the digital space. For me, I always advocate that if you want to survive in this digital space, you need to have a mindset of growth, a mindset of learning. Even for those of us who are doing it professionally, every day we need to learn because things keep changing. So if you really want to get into that space, you need to have an attitude of learning, an open-mindedness that you can pick up a new skill every day. A lot of times, some of the tools we even use, if you do not use it for about 3 months, you come back, it looks very foreign because a lot of updates have been pushed in there. So if you want to get into that space, that's one of the things you should have in the back of your mind, that you will definitely be needing that growth mindset, that learning, always learning mindset to always survive in the digital space. For the tangible tools, yes, thankfully, the way the digital space is set up, there are a lot of free tools. And again, I'll start from the learning side. There are a lot of platforms that I think Lady Who has touched on as well. For YouTube, for instance, YouTube has a YouTube Academy. And we all know YouTube is a platform that you can actually monetize your content. And they would even give you the know-hows and to-dos for you to navigate their platform, to make better content, get more views, and then you can monetize. Facebook has an academy also called Facebook Blueprint. And same thinking. They also want to equip you with the skills so that when you come onto their platform, you can make the most out of it. Twitter has the same thing. IBM has the same thing.
Now you're speaking like an IT person. Yes.
I want to give out the tools today so that everybody
yes, you are
will
speaking
know
like
what
an
to
IT
do.
person. You see, that's where so that you will break it. Now the frama me out.
Okay, with the
Because most of us utilize Facebook and co for promoting our businesses, and we really don't know about these things you're talking about.
People do not use more than 1% of it.
Gradually, slowly, take us through the platforms to learn about the platforms we are using to market our products. So Facebook, for instance, you talk about the Blueprint, the YouTube Academy and all those. What is there if I go to YouTube Academy? What is there? If I want to learn about YouTube, for instance, there are people who are professionals teaching about YouTube online that we can follow to learn more. I mean, let's, in a teaching fashion, teach our viewers and our listeners.
Okay. If you're listening to me now and you want to start your journey, maybe you want to even be a YouTuber, which some people are now quitting their job to do YouTube full time, and it's paying well. So if you want to do that, I would advise that you take your sweet time to actually learn and understand the platform. In the same way people are making money there, people are spending a lot of time there and they are making nothing. So if you want to get it right, you go on to YouTube Academy, you could just Google it. There are a lot of tutorial videos on there. So by watching these tutorial videos and understanding how the platform works, you can then go into actually creating content and making sure you're making money out of it. For Facebook, we do it professionally. we even understand that a lot of people say they are social media managers. However, they are not even using 10% of what the platform could actually do for you. Everybody goes there, dumps a post there, and then they leave, thinking that's how you can promote your business. Take the time to go to Facebook Blueprint. You can Google it. It's a website. Learn the skills, understand the platform before you spend time on there. Else, you'll be doing all these efforts and it won't yield any results. So it's like they're actually online tutorials and they are free. I think they are free. I should highlight that.
Well, I'm in that space too. Small. I know you guys talk about times certain posts must go and how important it is for you to know the times that your posts must go. I know you guys teach about for social media, and as much as this is an information educative conversation we're having, I'm hoping that our viewers and listeners can pick something that they can input into their businesses to grow. Not for us to have the theoretical conversation, but something that practically tomorrow they can do. So what times are the times that people can get much traction in terms of content that they post, either for Facebook, either for Instagram, or any of the other platforms?
Thank you for this question. It's a very good one, because if you're on there, that means you're looking for value. You want to either get awareness for what you're doing there, or even you want to make sales, which a lot of small businesses are setting up their social media to get people to do business with them. So if you want to do it right, in my experience, there is no actual specific time for somebody to tell you that if you post at 7 o'clock every day, you get the most results. It is a learning you would learn about your page over a period of time, where you would get the insight from the audience on your page that the majority of them are peak or they come online at this hour, and the platforms will give you that information. So if you're starting out, it is for you to try different times of posting, and then you'll be able to figure that out. But for a general rule of thumb, if you're trying to speak to a working class audience, your best bet is that when they wake up in the morning, they reach out for their phone. So if you post around that time, you're most likely to get them. And secondly, again, for the working class, you're looking at afternoon time, lunch break. That is when they also grab their phone to check one or two things. So that also be a good time to post, and then late after work. But that is not cast in stone. So there are other pages that you'd realize they post throughout the day and they're doing well. So the key thing you should keep in your mind is it's a learning that you pick up on your page after a period of time.
Now, let's talk about the content and how to drive it. I know some people say, okay, I want to grow my page organically. Some people say it must be sponsored. Of the two, which should a young businessman be looking at?
So social media is saturated right now in the sense that everybody's there. We are all social media users, and a lot of things are trying to grab our attention when we are on there. So the only way you stand a chance of growing and growing faster is doing things that will stand out, things that will be different. So there are free tools that can also help you craft content that will be excited for your everyday social media users to use. You don't need to be a pro-level graphic designer. Canva has over 55 million users. It's for a reason. It's because it's easy to use. It can give you what will look very premium, but it's for free. So download Canva now, start playing around it to do exciting content, and make sure what you're posting, ask yourself, is that something if you see on your timeline you would like to share? That's a very good filter to make sure to know whether the post you're posting is good or not. So challenge yourself to do content that will stand out. If you look at the influencers who are growing and growing very fast, there are people who stand for something. There are people who are very opinionated. There are people who do not shy from doing the unusual. If you do the usual, you're playing. There were 16 million Ghanaians on the internet. You're trying to get the attention of 16 million Ghanaians, and you're doing business as usual. You're wasting your time. So you need to do things differently if you want to grow. In terms of organic growth and paid growth, ideally, you'd want to go for organic growth. But how many people have the patience to actually see their page grow organically? So, and especially if you're a business, you're looking for value, and you're looking for value quickly. So in the absence of the patience to wait for the page to grow, you can just expedite it by just having some paid mechanism to push your content further.
I'll retrace my roots again to the point about the funding and the separation of the two worlds we are in. The tech person and the entrepreneur who is starting business and requires technology to grow. I want to talk about the tech person and then the tools that they would require. I need a laptop to study the coding. I need a laptop to study the Google SketchUp. I need a laptop to study the Cinema 4D. But it's 6K.
But that's how
Well,
And
unfortunately,
that's a fact.
it is.
Yeah,
We
it's
don't-
6K.
well, I mean, when this whole tech scene started, we used to have internet cafes where it had computers that you could go and engage with. But the assumption is that over time, people have gained enough wealth to own their own devices. And it's not the fault of how the world is going, but I would entreat you to save as little as you can so you
6K.
can invest in these devices
Crazy.
because you make more than 6K when you are quiet. So you need to be able to manage your finances to make that investment.
If I may
Sure.
just add to that, this is where perhaps I would want to see efforts from the government. I know we have a Ministry of Digitalization, and we know all about the digital agenda. And I remember when the country was launching the Accra Digital Center, I was expecting to see a lot of these things, a lot of hubs around town that somebody who has nowhere to start from can at least walk in there and at least pick up the skills. For me, it's important you pick up the skills. Everything else will fall into place. So if we can have, support or hubs around town funded by NGOs, funded by developmental agencies, driven by the government that is providing hotspots around town for young people who are eager, are passionate, they want to learn the digital skills, but they don't know where to start. They could walk in. That would really bridge a lot of barriers. Yes, it would require some high-spec machines to pull off some top-level IT jobs. However, even today's mobile phones some of them are more powerful than the
machines.
PCs people use. People are holding very, very powerful phones, and all they do is take selfies. It's very disappointing. So it's for people to open up their mind. And if we have centers that are really driving that agenda, that pushing people to be enlightened about all the opportunities you have in your hands, but you're not taking advantage of it, it would really bridge a gap. People are making money off of their phones, trading, for instance. Even if you want to go into crypto, they don't need a PC. You're trading. You understand how to trade, and you're trading on your phone on a platform. You do not need a high-spec PC. You've been holding the phone your whole life, but just that you aren't using it for what could bring you money. So I would just entreat anybody to explore more, ask questions, read more. The internet is just not for fun and games. Google is there for you. Ask any question. It always has an answer for you. If you start doing that, you make the most of all the devices you have, and not wait till you have, like a powerful iMac before you kickstart your digital journey.
Well, I know I'm supposed to be the host, but let me also add a little to what
Yes,
you
yes,
both
please.
have said.
Definitely.
Because I tell my friends that I speak to that I don't remember the last time I sat behind a PC to do a video
Honestly.
edit or to do any graphics work. And I'm
Yes.
happy you mentioned Canva.
Yes.
I do my graphics, everything with Canva
Canva.
and on my phone.
And
And I
it's
get all
perfect.
the feedback I'm looking for in terms of the aesthetics and how
Engagement.
it's people are doing a lot of skits on social media, and they would say, oh, I need a laptop to do that. But if you go on your Android phone or maybe your iOS phones, there's KineMaster there that you can use. The free edition gives you virtually all the features. The only thing is just maybe a watermark at the end of the day that's going to be there, but you would have been able to get your message
Absolutely.
out there. There's
Absolutely.
Adobe Premiere Rush for video editing. It's also there. If you are into videos and if you are into all of those, you can utilize them. There's a beautiful one called Motion Ninja.
Oh, yeah?
When I chanced upon that one, I haven't used
No way
PC
back.
for video editing again, because the complex process of animating a text with, how do you call it, maybe Premiere Pro
Yes.
or Final Cut,
Yes.
it gives me an advanced version where it's already simulated for me. So they come in presets. So if I was going to, let's say, animate a push-in,
Yeah.
the app gives me that push-in preset already, and so I don't have to go through that process. And these are all things that are there on our phones. And like you said, our phones are very powerful.
Yeah.
The modern day phone with maybe a 6 gigabyte RAM may have a Snapdragon 760 or maybe
Yes.
860 thereabouts that can push whatever content
Yes.
that you want to. So I think that people must read about their phones as well,
Yes.
Yeah.
because they are powerful
Yes. We are underutilizing them.
laptops that we are underutilizing. But in summing up the conversation, and for me, my concern has to do with the learning bit. The learning bit. How do we build that taste for the learning? Considering that I come to work at 4 something, I'm here till, let's say, 2 o'clock. If I leave here, I've got other things I need to do. by latest by 8, I should be in bed because I'll be up early. What time am I going to have to learn these things? The banker who is there, who wants to learn about these Facebook and YouTube platforms, and what time is that person going to have to learn these things, considering the kind of life we have in the city? How do you guys do it? How do you learn the new things? Keep yourselves updated because you're a busy person. Every time Ellie is on Zoom call.
I know.
I see you on all the Zoom calls. You are there. How do you get yourself updated?
So I follow on audiobooks every day. At least when I get home, I try to watch a video on YouTube on my field, or usually I just learn wide. So it's a deliberate effort. And how do we build the appetite? I wish more people knew that some of the new jobs that are coming up are not even requiring degrees for you to even apply. Like, you stand a chance without even having a degree. If that's not motivating enough for you, then maybe you should really look at why you want to do this. Because if Twitter came to Ghana and I saw their job posting, they mentioned a lot of things. I mean, the JD looked quite huge and intimidating for some people, but if you pay attention, you realize they weren't asking for certificates, degrees, and this. They just want people with experience and the competence. And a lot of the tech jobs that are coming out are not really obsessed about, certifications and all of that. They want to see people who can actually do the job. I'm telling you, if you can do proper front end, they will employ you without even asking what school you went to, because she wants results. She wants the job done.
I need part-time. Me, back end, no way. Front end, yes way.
Okay.
She will give you the job knowing that you will deliver, because clients do not care who did the job.
No.
All we care about is the job done? Are we happy? And that's the tech space. The barrier to the tech space is lower than ever. Unlike other professions like engineering, medicine, accountancy, architecture, when it comes to tech, the barrier is very low, which means all you have to do is to pick up the skills. We've spoken about the free tools here. So just pick up the skills. The barrier to entry is low. Play in that field. The jobs that are coming are not even asking for, all these high qualifications. What they need to see is a portfolio, a track record of some of the works you've done. And if you have the skills, there's nothing stopping you from developing your own website to show that you can do it. There's nothing stopping you from developing an app to show you can do it. If you explore Microsoft's platform, they have a platform called the Power Platform. The Power Platform enables you to do an app without even writing a code. And in the world now, nobody applauds you for writing intricate codes. We applaud you providing solutions and value. So if you're able to use that platform to provide simple solutions in your everyday lives, you are providing value and you can monetize that. So just know that the barrier to entry into the tech space is very low. Pick up the skills. There are free platforms. You have absolutely no excuse. All you need is interest and passion.
Please, I'm also a learner. You said the Microsoft
Power Platform.
I think that's a no code tool.
Yes.
Because
You can develop an app without even writing the code. It's just building blocks.
I'll also just add a little to what Ellie said. We have a lot of podcasts where people are sharing a lot of information about their experiences in learning these tech languages. Invest in podcasts. You have apps like Blinklist that can help you learn something in about 15 minutes. And if you don't have the time, that's a good resource for you to be able to learn. And Audible, like Ellie mentioned, audiobooks, it has a car mode, so even on the move, instead of maybe just playing music, at times when you're moving, you can just listen to an audiobook, so you make good use of your time. At the end of the day, life is very complex. You have to, know what you want out of life, so you have to invest your time in what is valuable to you.
Yes.
all right, so we'll end it here. And I'll thank you for joining me, lady. I'll thank you for joining me, Ellie.
Thank you.
I think it's been a very insightful conversation, and for those who followed, I'm hoping that we'll have another session to continue, because I didn't know until 2 years ago how to write a proposal to a client for a web development project. I didn't know how to state, how to do your grading, and all. There are processes to even write to a client for business in terms of a proposal. That will make it convincing enough for the individual to want to do business with you. I didn't know that. And these are things that people, I believe, ought to be taught as well. And so if we do have the opportunity to discuss techpreneurship again, I'm sure we would delve into these aspects of the conversation as well. But I'm grateful you joined me this morning
Thanks
on
for
the show.
having us.